What's up, everyone? I'm here with UFC Middleweight Cody Brundage. So I was researching what I thought was pretty cool is you were an NCAA wrestler before you came to the UFC. So when you were in college, was the plan always wrestle, then UFC or MMA, or like what were you planning on doing when you were in college?
So I wanted to coach wrestling actually, and that's how I ended up in Michigan. I was coaching college wrestling up there. And then I just found a gym. I'd always been a big fan of the sport. I don't know if I ever thought that I was going to fight professionally. I thought maybe I'd take some amateur fights or something. We had like a little fight club on our college wrestling team. We'd all meet up in the wrestling room, and we had these like cheap Walmart boxing gloves that we would throw down with. But I don't know if I ever thought that would translate to being in the UFC. But when I started training as an amateur, I met my wife. She was a UFC fighter at the time. She's like, "Hey, I think you could be really good at this." And I was like, "All right, well, I guess I'll commit more time." I stopped coaching wrestling, started training full time, and then ended up where I am. So I don't know if it was the plan all along, but it slowly evolved into being the plan.
It definitely worked out. So when you were in the fight club on the wrestling team, were you like were you like the best one, or
Oh no, I wasn't the best one. I was the head of it though. I was the matchmaker.
you were
I
Dana
was,
White?
I was the mind behind it all for sure. No, I wouldn't say I was there was no best one, right? We were all pretty bad. So, I wasn't terrible, I guess, compared to all of them, but I don't think anyone was really that good.
So when you guys were doing that, like you'd get done with practice and like would your coach ever be like, "What the fuck, guys? Like we're in the middle of the season."
So we'd always come back. I had a key. I was the captain on the team. So I'd be like, "Coach, we got a couple guys, we got to go cut some weight. I'm going to use my key. I'm going to get in the room." It'd be like 10, 11 o'clock at night. He would never know, so it was underground, and no one was talking about it.
Underground first rule of Fight Club.
That's right.
So when you did wrestling, it was in Newberry College. I was looking into a small D2 school. I said like only like 1,000 students there. So wrestling at a place like that, is that just like the hardest 4-year grind ever?
It was only 35 minutes from my hometown, which was cool because I got to go home and see my family a lot. I'm really close with everyone in my family, and the team I was on, it was really good. When I got there, we were always top 10. So even though we were small, we had a lot of talent, and the school was kind of cool. Like it was 1,000 kids, but I would say 80% of the kids were in athletics.
Right.
So we were all kind of going through the same grind, and we were all. It would be funny, like whoever was in their off season would obviously be the team that was out like partying and being stupid, and it was just an evolving door or a revolving door of like teams getting in trouble and being stupid, depending on what season it was.
Yeah. So yeah, despite being a collegiate wrestler though, once you did transition, your first 3 pro victories, they came via punches. So when you were kind of becoming like working your way into the MMA scene, was that something you kind of prioritize? Like you were looking to keep it standing and get some damage done on the feet, or did it just kind of come?
So I've always been pretty athletic, and I think a problem with a lot of wrestlers is they're super stiff. And that kind of hurts their striking ability, because they're just super tight. I never really had that problem. And my first fight is funny stories. Me, my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time. She was just one of my coaches. And then my head coach went out there and she's like, "Listen, don't strike with this kid. Take him down immediately. Don't take any chances." I'm like, "I think I might strike a little bit." She's like, "No, that's the dumbest thing you could do." And then I went out there and knocked him out in the first punch I threw. I was like, "I'm a striker. I'm never wrestling." But I don't know. It just kind of worked out that way. I feel like I still do. I still feel like I put more of an emphasis on my striking, just trying to learn it because I wrestled my whole life. I wrestled for 20 plus years. So that foundation's already been set. So now it's just adding the pieces I don't have, which is the striking, and that's getting better every day. And it's also more fun. With wrestling, there's small increases in skill, like barely noticeable because I've been doing it so long. With striking, like there's big jumps. It's like if you've never weightlifted before and you decide, okay, I'm going to start eating clean, I'm going to start weightlifting. In the first 3 or 4 months, you see these huge jumps, and that's exciting. But if you stay with it, like in the next 5, 6 years, those increases are very small. So it's hard to stick with it.
Yeah, it must have been awesome, like because you can progress so much more in such a short period of time compared to your wrestling background where you're just getting like 1% better each day. So that's great. I don't know if you caught it. I'm a college student myself, and I'm in the library right now. Like I'm literally in a room by myself. You see that guy just came yelling and putting my mask on. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, I was like, oh, somebody must have walked in.
Yeah.
Where do you go to school at?
Rutgers in New Jersey. So talk about college wrestling. I think we're like top 25. Like
one of my best friends is from Tom's River.
Okay.
he wrestled with me down there, BJ Young, and he has a couple teammates that wrestled at Rutgers, like Scotty Winston and those guys. I don't know if you know them. They're kind of before your time, but.
We just built school just built like a huge like wrestling facility. So a lot of the NJMMA guys like Frankie's always here, Cody Garbrandt, like those guys are always here. So the scene down here, like New Jersey, like if you're tapped into the wrestling world, New Jersey, we're on the come up. We have some really good high school prospects. Rutgers is good, so it's exciting
for sure.
So you made your UFC debut on the Ortega Volkanovski card. So not only like when you like the last couple of years in MMA, there's been a ton of Apex cards. Your next fights at the Apex, you were on the Contender Series, like quiet dead gyms, even the regional scene, like those can get rowdy, but it's not the T-Mobile Arena. So what was it like your first big fight with this massive crowd behind you?
Oh, it was super cool. I didn't really have nerves. I had a lot going on that week other than fighting, like a lot of unexpected stuff with my daughter and some things that like kind of put fighting on the back burner a little bit, as weird as that sounds, being my UFC debut and stuff. But I just felt like I had a lot of other things going in my life that were so much bigger than fighting at the time that I didn't really have nerves. So I got to kind of take it in a little bit. I don't really remember too much of the fight, which is weird to say too, but like I remember certain moments, and I've gone back and watched it a few times. It's tough to watch because I don't feel like I really performed to my potential, but it was cool. Like the open weigh-ins were cool. And he's a Diaz guy. So like everybody was hating on me because everyone loves Diaz. So they were like flipping me off at the weigh-ins and stuff. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. Whatever. And and like I feel like I walk out to 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton, which is pretty unique. So like hearing that at T-Mobile was pretty sweet. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned that fight was against Maximov, and I'm pretty sure Nick Diaz, he was fighting on that card, right? So did you have any like
that was his return fight?
Yeah, so that's kind of definitely a tough environment. But do you have any run-ins with the Diaz team, or is it pretty? It's kind of
no. They were just weird, man. They really just stuck to themselves. I remember at weigh-ins, everyone sucked out on weight. Nick comes in, he's kind of like mean mugging everybody. We're like, come on, dude, we're all low on weight, we're all miserable. He goes up to the snack table because there's a snack table the UFC puts out for after you weigh in. You can grab some Cliff bars or whatever, just bullshit. And he takes his arm like this, swipes all the snacks, bro, and dips out. I'm like, are you kidding me, bro? This guy just took all the snacks. The lady like who has to replace him is like frantic. She's like, oh my God. She's like trying to put the snacks back. I'm like, this asshole just stole 15 Cliff bars. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, maybe all the weed he smokes makes him hungry. He had the munchies.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
That's great. So kind of a random question here, but you're a professional fighter, middleweight, big dude. How many 10-year-olds do you think you could beat up until like they finally took you out?
An infinite number of 10-year-olds. Infinity. I could beat up infinity. Like they come one at a time, or does it stack on?
Maybe like in waves. Like one comes, now two's coming, now three's coming.
Oh yeah, infinity, bro. There's no way I'm losing to any 10-year-olds ever.
I respect that. I respect the confidence. So your next fight is against, gonna probably butcher this guy's name, but Dalcha Lungiambula. It's
that's pretty good. I think that was pretty good.
I appreciate that. Thank you. March 12th at the Apex. So what can we expect? Your second UFC fight? What are we going to see in there?
I think it'll be pretty exciting. Dalcha, he's super explosive. Everything he throws is to put your head in the third row. So he doesn't have a great gas tank. So I think the first 4 minutes of the fight are going to be chaos. I think he's going to come out. He knows he needs to get a quick finish because he starts to fade as the fight goes on. So it's just going to be weathering that storm. I think I'm the first guy that he's fought in the UFC that'll really take it to him. I think a lot of guys are a little scared of his power maybe, and he's lost in the UFC, so their game plans have worked. I just don't think anyone's tried to be in his face and kind of invite that chaos. I'm definitely going to be in his face trying to invite the chaos. So I think I'm going to finish him probably second or third round. He's, like I said, he doesn't have a great gas tank. But I think the first 4 minutes of the fight or so will be pretty nuts.
That's great. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be tuned in for those first 4 minutes. And I've seen some of his fights, super explosive dude. So this style's clashing. It's going to be an awesome fight. Last question. It's my favorite one to ask all the fighters. Never lets me down. I guess we kind of touched on it with, your background, but in that time between college and UFC, or maybe even when you were in high school for college, like what kind of jobs were you working? Like what were you doing for?
Dude, I've worked so many different kinds of jobs. I've had jobs in sales. I've been a headhunter for a headhunter. I've been a headhunter for a tech company. So like recruiting guys to work for them. I've worked in construction. I've worked in restaurants, service industry. So I've literally worked any kind of job you could think. I've worked, and none of the jobs I've worked have pertained to my degree at all. I went to school to be a teacher, and a wrestling coach is what I want to do. I teach high school and coach wrestling. I've never done that. All my jobs have just been like, what can I do around my training schedule? So yeah, I've worked a lot of odd, weird jobs with a lot of odd and weird people, man. Like super random, like millionaires, guys that have all their shit together, and straight up drug addicts who are doing drugs on the job site. So I have a wide variety of people that I've worked with.
Jack of all trades. What were you good at sales? Like, were you pulling
I was pretty
numbers?
good. Yeah. I actually ended up leaving that company to go work for my father-in-law's construction company. It just worked better with my schedule and that kind of thing. But I liked it. I like talking to people. I like dealing with people. It was tough to be behind a desk all the time. But yeah, it was cool. And the money's good, man. Sales is where it's at, money-wise.
That's good. I'm sure Dana White loves to hear that. Sell some pay-per-views someday for him.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. One day.
Thanks so much for doing this, man. Best of luck in March.
Awesome, man. Thank you.